Hey guys, welcome back to our 100-day challenge, and today is day 15 where we are going to talk about in more detail. Here we will cover all the important files and how these files will look like. Let's go directly in the section. So first let's understand what you are going to learn after this session. You will understand Terraform in more simple way. Next we will talk about the all important points that is related to Terraform which you need to consider while working on Terraform. Next thing, we will understand Terraform configuration files, how these files look like. So it will be easy for you to understand how Terraform files is different than the other configuration files. Next, we will talk about the state file, which is one of the important file among all because and help us to track the changes. Now let's understand what is Terraform. So Terraform, as I mentioned in previous session, it is an infrastructure as a code tool that is used to create, manage and destroy infrastructure resources, and it is created by HashiCorp. So with Terraform, we can define our infrastructure in code and then we can use Terraform to provision, update or destroy. Next, Terraform uses a state file to track the current state of your infrastructure. Then how this file can be created? We can create this file manually, or once we will run our first Terraform command, that is Terraform init, that is for initialization. Once we run this command, our Terraform state file is created along with the initialization of our working directory of our Terraform project. So this is how we can define Terraform. Now let's understand the important points. So Terraform is an IaC, means infrastructure as a code tool, that allow us to define our infrastructure as a code. Next point, Terraform can be used to manage infrastructure resources across multiple cloud providers. Whatever cloud you want to work with, you can use Terraform to provision, to manage, or to destroy the resources. Next thing, Terraform uses a declarative language. That means we can tell Terraform what we want to do and how we want to achieve that one. That all things we can define in simple language. The only thing, it's a little bit coding part, but once you will see that coding file, you will understand easily. It's not that complex, trust me guys. Next thing, Terraform can be used to automate the creation, management and destruction of infrastructure resources quickly. That's why it is one of the most popular tool in a DevOps domain. So whenever we talk about infrastructure as a code tool, we always go with a Terraform most of the time, we can say. Next thing, how the Terraform configuration file look like. If you see this file, you can see this is a main.tf file. That is the extension. Terraform file, mostly the extension will be .tf. TF for Terraform. Okay, here you can see some information related to provider. Here you can see the provider information. Here we are using AWS and the region. The region we are using US East 1, where our resource will be created. Next is resource section. Here you can see it is creating AWS instance, name of that instance, what is AMI ID it is using, what is the instance type it is having. Similarly, we can define output. So this is a common, or we can say simple Terraform configuration file, where in single file we have defined everything. It is good for testing purpose or development purpose, but it's not ideal for the production, or we can say the large infrastructure, because it will be very confusing later point of time. If you need to make changes in any one of the place, you need to make changes for every file, means every place wherever we mention it. So we are dealing with different files in Terraform. What are those files are? If you see, first you can see the tab provider file. Here you can see simply we are using AWS. Here it can be Azure, it can be GCP or IBM cloud, whatever cloud you are using or provider you are using, you can use that one, and you can define the configuration of that provider what you wanna use. It's not only because this region, but also you can define other parameters as well. Next file, we are having resource file. Normally we define this resource in a main.tf file, but we can have this file as well. Okay, so we can define this resource file resources in our Terraform main file, that is our main.tf file that defines the resources that we want to create, manage or restore. Next file we are having variable file. This file actually defines any variable that we want to use in our Terraform configuration. When it can be used, so see, example, we can see here you can see the variable we are taking AMI. The type of this variable is string and the value of this variable is this AMI ID. Okay. With the help of this variable, we can create one resource here, we can create another resource here. Okay. But the thing is, if you see in the long run, if you want to update these instances, so if we define these all resources in a single file, but we are not using variables, then we need to go to every place and we need to define this AMI ID everywhere in our file. But if we are using variables, then what we need to do, we just need to update this variable file here and we need to change the value in the variable section. Then once we will update this configuration, automatically all the resources will be updated with the current value variable value. So this is how we can use variable to for the large updates, or we can say large modification in our infrastructure. Next file we are having output file. If you see output file, here the output is public IP. Once the AWS instance is created, it will give us a output like AWS instance dot example and the public IP in the end. So it will help, it will give us public IP that we can use to access this instance which we are creating. Next file you can see, this is a file state file where it is showing which instance is created, what all the instances, if it is created one, then it will show one. Otherwise, whatever resources we have created, it will track the changes of everything here in this file itself. As we mentioned, we can create this file manually or it will be created when we'll run the init command. Next, we are having Terraform module configuration files. We can define modules. Let's understand what exactly these modules are. Modules are like a function which can be invoked whenever we want it. Okay, so this is like a reusable piece of Terraform code that can be used to encapsulate common infrastructure pattern that we want to use again and again. For example, if you see the simple file here on the left hand side, here we define the VPC, virtual private cloud in AWS, and the value of that one name, and we are defining CIDR value, that is the subnet. Okay, so based on this one, our configuration will be created. If we want to give more information in this module, we can define like this way, which availability zone it will take place and what are the public subnet it should use, what are the private subnet it use, what is the security group it should use, or it can be used by your resources. Everything we can define this module and we can use this module as a function. So we no need to write again and again same information. So we can use module configuration file along with our Terraform file. So it helps us to perform our tasks easily and rapidly. Now let's understand what types of files we are having. We have already seen what type of file, how it will look like. But now let's understand one by one. First file we are having main.tf file that we see. Either normally we define the resources in this file, or we can also define everything in a single file that is known as main.tf file. Next file we are having providers.tf file. Providers.tf file actually defines the cloud providers and their configuration that we want to use in our Terraform project. Next file we are having variable file. This file actually defines any variable that we want to use in our Terraform configuration, and it allows us to reuse values across multiple resources and make our Terraform configuration more dynamic. Next file we are having output file, which defines the output that we want to generate from our Terraform configuration, and it's useful for displaying information about the infrastructure, or we can use it for passing any value to other tools or application. Next file we are having module configuration files. These files are like a function that we can use it. It's like a reusable piece of Terraform code that can be encapsulate common infrastructure pattern. Next file is state file. This file contains the state of our Terraform infrastructure. So we can use this state file to track the resources that is created or managed. It's like a simple JSON file that contains information about the resources that our Terraform configuration created. It can be anything like resource ID, resource attributes, or any dependencies. So Terraform uses this state file to prevent duplicate resources from being created and also it ensures that resources are destroyed in the correct order we want. Normally state file is big section. We will see the initialization phase means Terraform initialization in separate section. For the timing, just understand state files is used to track the resources that it has our Terraform configuration created or managed, and also help us to prevent duplicate resources from being created. So guys, that's it in this video. I hope you find this video helpful. If you find it, then don't forget to click on like button, share with your friends for better reach. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep transforming. See you in next video.